Hello Bloomington, I'm Mayor Tim Busse, and this is the Council Minute for the week of October 30th. Last week, the Bloomington Police Department announced a first in Minnesota program that will provide rapid response and individualized mental health services to community members who are referred by police, fire, school partners, or by Hennepin County social workers. The new Rapid Response Mental Health Pilot Program looks to ensure that those who need help are being served as soon as possible with compassion and respect. Some quick background. A good number of 911 calls about people suffering a mental health crisis result in a visit from a police officer and often an emergency room visit. Last year, BPD responded to more than 1,100 calls related to a mental health crisis or suicide attempt or threat. So far this year, there have been 952 calls. These are our neighbors in crisis. But in many cases, follow-up therapy sessions are not available for weeks after the initial contact with law enforcement or social workers. Without professional treatment and intervention, the potential for repeat incidents increases. The goal of the new program announced last week is to provide community members with immediate in-home therapy at no cost. The program will include 2 licensed marriage and family counselors who will be embedded within the Bloomington Police Department. The 2 therapists will supervise 4 students who are completing their clinical practice requirements. These supervisors and their students will be able to provide rapid response and individualized mental health services to community members. Students will have the capacity for about 40 appointments a week. The pilot program is set to begin in December and will cost $63,000. It will be paid for with funds from the state public safety aid funds and from the state's opioid settlements. Now, the opioid connection is important, as BPD has found that most calls regarding mental health issues also deal with substance abuse, specifically opioids. Bloomington Police have responded to 361 overdose calls since 2019, including 70 this year. There have been 47 fatal overdoses in the city in the last 5 years. So in addition to the Mental Health Rapid Response Pilot Program, the Bloomington Public Health Division is working with stakeholders to address the opioid issue. A list of community resources is available at blm.mn/opioids. As I mentioned a couple of times, this is a pilot program. Bloomington Police will evaluate progress and results at the end of next year, and if successful, will look to extend the program into the future. The mental health crisis is endemic. This bold and innovative program is another example of Bloomington taking the lead on a challenging issue. This program will help people in crisis, and I'm proud of the work done by Bloomington Police and the partnership with Bloomington Public Schools. The proposed 2024 budget was once again a main topic of discussion on Monday night. This time the focus was on public works. You've heard me say in the past that behind public safety, police, and fire, public works is the 3rd biggest chunk of the City of Bloomington general fund budget. The folks in public works are busy. Public works staff maintains streets and infrastructure, provides engineering services, protects Bloomington's wetlands, delivers clean, safe drinking water and wastewater services, manages the solid waste and recycling programs, and coordinates sustainability initiatives. All told, Public Works includes more than 150 employees, and when you add up their general fund and utility fund and the fleet and facility fund, the overall budget is more than $91.4 million. Once again, the biggest driver of the general fund expenses in Public Works is inflationary increases related to compensation and materials. Now, I know everybody is dealing with inflationary increases, but what the city and other public sector entities are dealing with is pretty significant. Here's an example that the council heard on Monday night. Just last year, in 2022, the cost of a wide area mower, a big lawn mower, was $136,000. This year, only 12 months later, the cost of that same mower is $176,000. And that's just one example. Public Works is also facing challenges like canceled orders that are significantly more expensive on a reorder, the cost of parts going sky high, and diminished discounts for purchasing vehicles on contracts. Those cost increases are putting a lot of pressure on the department to find savings elsewhere and to try and get more out of vehicles and equipment. Despite the challenges, I have complete confidence in our public works staff to keep the roads plowed this winter, the potholes filled in the spring, and the water tasting great. On top of their typical duties, Public Works is ready to take on new initiatives next year, including implementation of the neighborhood traffic plan, the addition of solar to the Public Works building, and development of an electric vehicle infrastructure plan. We'll have one more meeting with departmental budget presentations on November 13th, where we'll hear from community development, legal, and the IT department, as well as continue the discussion on the 2024 utility rates. Our budget and levy conversation will continue on November 20th, all leading up to our decisions in December about the 2024 levy and budget. Finally today, as we head into the general election on November 7th, I'd like to answer the most commonly asked questions we've received about Bloomington Forward, the long-term investment plan that, if approved by voters, would support 3 major community projects for better health, wellness, athletics, recreation, and improved natural areas. Voters are being asked about approving a new funding source to build a community health and wellness center, renovate Bloomington Ice Garden, and enhance and protect the 9 Mile Creek Corridor and more in Central Parks. Specifically, Bloomington voters are being asked to consider a 0.5% local option sales tax to finance $155 million in bonds to pay for the projects as part of a citywide referendum. So, here are the questions that put the frequently in our frequently asked questions. Why a sales tax? The Bloomington City Council concluded that a sales tax was a reasonable way to finance this investment plan because it would spread the cost of the projects among the residents and non-residents who buy goods and use services in the city. If the projects were funded through a property tax increase only, the cost burden would fall to those who own commercial and residential property in Bloomington. According to research by the University of Minnesota, about 65% of this new sales tax in Bloomington would be paid by non-residents. This means approximately $101 million of the $155 million project costs would be paid by non-residents. Second question, how does the sales tax work? A 0.5% sales tax adds half a penny for every dollar spent on taxable retail sales of goods and services in Minnesota. In other words, an additional 5 cents would be added to a $10 purchase or 50 cents for a $100 purchase. Using data from the University of Minnesota Extension staff calculated the average estimated cost of the 0.5% sales tax for Bloomington residents would be approximately $100 per household each year, or $8.33 per month. If the projects were funded through property taxes only, the owner of a median value home in Bloomington would pay $223 per year, or $18.60 per month. Are there exemptions to the sales tax? The answer is yes. A new local option sales tax would have the same exemptions for purchases as existing state sales tax, such as groceries, clothing, prescription and over-the-counter drugs, feminine hygiene products, and baby products. A local sales tax would not apply to these same types of items. For a full list of taxable and non-taxable items, visit the Minnesota Department of Revenue's website at revenue.state.mn.us. Next question. What happens to the sales tax rate if 1 or 2 of the projects are approved instead of all 3? The sales tax rate would stay the same no matter how many questions are approved by voters. The tax would be 0.5% if 1, 2, or all 3 projects are approved by the voters. Will the sales tax end when the project or projects are fully funded? Yes, the sales tax will end when the bonds for the projects are paid off. The maximum term for the sales tax is 20 years. The tax will only go toward the projects that are approved and will end when the approved projects are fully funded. And finally, where can I find more information about voting? Early voting is already underway. And of course, the general election is Tuesday, November 7th. To view the questions being considered, learn more about early voting or voting by absentee ballot, or to find your polling place, visit bloomingtonforward.org/vote. There's much more information about the sales tax and the projects at bloomingtonforward.org. That will do it for this week's Council Minute. Thank you for joining me today. Until next time, stay safe, Bloomington.